This is the video for Skill Builder number 4 on solving quadratics. In the last Skill Builder, you went through box and diamond and you did the factoring. So you were able to come out to the factors, but now we're actually going to be going through and solving them. So to be able to solve them, you have to know about the zero product property here. The zero product property states that if A times B equals 0, then A must equal 0, or B must equal 0. Okay, so if we practice this on number 2, we're solving for x using the zero product property. What this means is that we're taking each of our factors, so this is one factor and this is one factor. Same thing over here, this is one factor, this is one factor, and we're setting them equal to 0. So for part A, we're going to take 2x and set it equal to 0, and we're also going to take x minus 1 and set it equal to 0. Okay, so you can do each of them individually. Divide both sides by 2. These will cancel. And 0 divided by 2 is just 0. And then same thing over here. Add 1 to both sides, and we get x equals 1. So those would be the solutions there. Same idea for B. We've got two factors here, so we're going to take each of them and set them equal to 0. And then we're just going to solve each of them individually. So subtract 3 from both sides here, and we get x equals negative 3. And then add 3 to both sides here. We're going to get x equals 3. Okay. Part C looks a little bit different because it is still in quadratic form. It's not in factored form, so we need to get it into factored form. Notice with these other two, they were both set equal to 0. We need to do the same thing over here. So we're going to subtract 4x and subtract 32 from both sides. So those would cancel. And you're going to have on the left side x squared minus 4x minus 32 equals 0. Okay, we always want to make sure it's equal to 0 in the end. So you can go to the last video, Skill Builder number 3, if you want to go through the box and diamond method or learn that method. But your factors here are going to be x minus 8 and x plus 4 equals 0. So we'll take each of those and set them equal to 0. And then we're going to solve them individually. So add 8 to both sides. We get x equals 8. Subtract 4 from both sides. And we get x equals negative 4. So those are our two answers. Now on the back side, we are looking at the quadratic formula. So hopefully this is just a review from last year, but the quadratic formula states, if ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, then x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all of that over 2 times a. Okay, so basically what this means is you're taking your coefficients here, the a, the b, and then the c is the constant, and just plugging in to that formula right there. So if we look down at number 4, the example, again, just like on the other side, when we use the zero product property, we want to make sure that everything is on one side, and it's always set equal to 0. So we're going to add 2x to both sides, and that will give us 3x squared plus 2x minus 5 equals 0. So from here, it's always easiest when you're plugging in if you figure out what your a equals and your b equals and your c equals so that you can plug in correctly. So the a is going to equal 3. That's always the number in front of the x squared. The b is going to be the 2, the number in front of the x. And the c is going to be negative 5. You always want to take the sign with. So now it's just a matter of plugging in. So we'll have x equals, and we're just plugging into this formula right up here. So we've got a negative, b is 2, and I always use parentheses just to be careful in case there's a negative with that b as well. We've got plus or minus. Now we've got our square root, b squared. So we've got 2, and again I use parentheses, 2 squared minus 4 times, use parentheses here as well, 3 times negative 5. That's all square rooted. And then over 2 times a. So 2 times your a value is 3. So from here, it's just simplifying down. You have to be really, really careful on the order that you're doing this. So we'll go ahead and get started. So a negative 2, the plus or minus stays, and we still got our square root. So we can simplify, I would simplify individually here. So 2 squared is 4. And then we've got a negative 4 times a 3 times a negative 5. So if you plugged all of that into your calculator, you should get a plus 60. Right? And that's all over 2 times 3 is 6. So I'm going to go ahead and continue that over here to the right. We've got a negative 2 plus or minus. Let's combine under the square root. 4 plus 60 is 64. All over 6. Okay, so the square root of 64 is just 8. So we'll go ahead and replace that. Negative 2 plus or minus 8. All over 6. And now we're at a place where we've got two different things going on with this plus or minus right here. So we're actually going to go out into different directions here. One where we use the plus, one where we use the minus. So we've got negative 2 plus 8 over 6. If we simplify that, we're going to get 6 over 6, which equals 1. And then down here, we've got a negative 2 minus 8 over 6. If we simplify that, we get a negative 10 over 6. And we'll leave it in fraction form and just go ahead and simplify. So the top and the bottom, you can divide by 2. So we'll get a negative 5 over 3. So our answers here are going to be x equals 1 and x equals negative 5 over 3. Okay. And for number 5, as previously discussed, what must the equation be set equal to in order to use zero product property or quadratic formula? Must always be set equal to 0.